Okay, in the last class, we talked about fiscal policy. Quick 10-second summary. Fiscal policy is run by the federal government. I call them the feds, Congress. They have two tools. They can change levels of spending or they can change levels of taxation. There's this idea that spending by person A becomes income to person B, and they're going to, with their income, spend some of it, save some of it. And that is a ripple effect called the spending or income multiplier that works its way through the economy. So really, if you think about it, it's the federal government trying to maneuver, manipulate, whatever word you prefer, your ability to spend, whether they want you to spend more or they spend less. But for those of you who have studied, of course, what is known as bureaucracy, things in government do not work as efficiently or effectively as things in the private sector. Probably, and we talked about in this class, there is no profit motive, but they are doing things for what is known in theory as a common good. But of course, they can engage in economic calculation. I hope you recognize all those terms because they are a nice comprehensive summary of our entire semester together. Economists call those discrepancies as lags. For example, how do I know if I'm in a recession? How do I know whether there's an inflationary phase? It is very difficult in actuality to recognize exact moments in time. Obviously, if all of us knew when the stock market was going to take a big fat dump, we all would have sold the night before. That's just not how the economy works. It's not cliche, it's more the truth. It's just going to happen when it's going to happen. At the same time, there's layers and layers and layers and layers of the bureaucracy. It is very difficult as you work your way through a process of which there's no incentive to be as effective as and efficient as possible, minus just your particular decision to be as efficient as possible. It's known as administrative lag. At the same time, as government makes decisions and as things trickle in the economy, well, when are things going to get better? Well, once again, it is not the same as 2 + 2 = 4. We are talking about the macroeconomic policy known as fiscal policy. I'm talking about the overall economy. I'm talking about millions and millions of people. I'm talking about billions and billions of decisions. Once again, I remind you, it's just something that just cannot happen with a snap. It is not the same as you going to McDonald's and getting your hamburger within the space of 1 minute. Let us recognize that. So, what else should I know regarding fiscal policy? Well, I should probably understand the term called a deficit and surplus. And I have a little handy dandy graph for you guys to kind of understand. This is the level of taxing that goes on. And let's just admit it, the more output that is produced and it is bought and sold, well, the more taxes that are paid. So it seems that when any economy can produce more output, it can increase its levels of taxation. Taxes that go to pay for a lot of those public services that you probably enjoy. At the same time, every year the government must set its own particular budget. So this is the governmental budget. It is a number. But then the taxes come on in depending upon the level of production. So when the government spends more than it brings in tax revenue, that is what is called a deficit. And when the tax revenue is more than what it spends, that is what is called a surplus. And that's all the terms governmental deficit and surplus means. We could take a look at any particular moment in time. We could take a look at a year, a quarter, a particular presidency, decade, century, you name it, and do our best to analyze deficits and surpluses. So the question is, how has the government been doing? Well, there is something called the debt clock. So I just want you to take a quick look at it. Hey, whoa, ho, whew, that's a pretty big number. And it says the U.S. national debt, wait, this is thousands, then millions and billions and trillions. So wait a second, let me take a look at this number. That's more than I've had in take-home income probably in my entire life. I don't know if that's good or bad. I do know that this debt goes to pay services that benefit me, I believe. If I was to look at this as a decade, and it's called the U.S. federal debt to GDP ratio, notice that at various times it seems the debt has increased relative to how much production there's been done. And if I look at right now, I I am disappointed. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not the value of my stock portfolio at all. That is simply the reality that the federal debt apparently is more to be more than 100%. The GDP ratio. Wow, look over here too. Oh my God, look at the way that number has changed. Now, if I was to scroll down, I would notice that it's going toward a lot of different categories that I may or may not support. There's a lot of different ways. Look at this US money creation. That's interesting. We take a look at the trade balance. We take a look at assets held by citizens. I could click on this and I could find a definition of everything here. There's no denying that. It looks like every U.S. taxpayer, in theory, is $200,000 in the hole. And every particular U.S. citizen, but they may not be a taxpayer. For example, that would probably be you. Apparently, you're $75,000 in the hole. There is a whole class semester discussion we could have with this debt clock. And I know that this is coming down to politics at some point in time. Okay, so what else should I know? Well, number one, I need you to understand that how much I tax you will increase or reduce aggregate demand. If I increase taxes on you, you simply have less money to spend, therefore you will spend less. If I reduce taxes, you have more disposable income in your pocket, therefore you'll spend more. It seems that when I think about the business cycle, I would like you to spend less when the economy is moving toward inflation. There's just too much money chasing too few goods, is the old cliche. So what I'll do is I'll take money out of your person and I'll help maybe decrease aggregate demand, which will lower the price level. But if we're in a recessionary phase, maybe I need you guys to increase more to kickstart that round of spending and income and people getting paid. So maybe I would lower taxes. The question becomes, how responsive is the tax revenue to changes in GDP? If you're in a government class, you should understand a progressive tax is one that gets higher as you make more money, the tax rate. Proportional is exactly that. That means that you would pay the exact same proportion based on any increase or decrease in income. And aggressive means the percentage you pay decreases as your income rises. Each of these affects the slope of that taxation line. Therefore, each impacts deficits and surpluses. Now, it definitely is April, and that by definition is tax month. And there's a lot of different ways we could look at taxes. From my perspective, just want you to understand what an income tax is, what a capital gains tax is, and what an inheritance tax is, and understand you pay them both at the federal and state level in all cases. Now, the old adage, this is a quote by George Bernard Shaw, a government which robs Peter to pay Paul can always count on the support of Paul. This comes down to more your particular belief system and what you think is right and what is wrong. This issue of income, whether it is yours, whether you need to help pay toward general public services because you believe you benefit from those public services or you believe you do not benefit from those public services. That is quite honestly a dinner table conversation with you and your parents, and I am not that person to have it with you. I just want you to understand some of the general ideas behind fiscal policy, be very specific as to what those tools are, exactly who runs fiscal policy, and I think you'll find on the particular assignment that it's a nice summary of that. You guys have a great day.